group that they really care about. And in a small school like ours too, sometimes you'll get kids scheduled into the class who aren't really into mock trial, but they have to have a role, so you have to give them a role, so your team might be weakened because you have a kid who's not as involved. So that was my experience with academic decathlon, so I have not petitioned to have it be as a class. But I know other people who've had it as a class who've had it be really successful, so I'd like to hear from those of you who've done that later. We do practice 2 nights a week for all of our teams. So we have Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 3:30 to 5:30. I have a pretty flexible scheduling practice, because Lodi, again, being a smaller school, we're competing with a lot of different things. And a lot of you are in that position. You know, I have kids who want to go out for hockey, for forensics, for wrestling, of course, for all kind of basketball. So cross-country ski team now has become sort of like a thorn in my side because they take a lot of my good kids. So I have found that, I really have to just give kids some flexibility. On top of that, they have jobs and other things. So I just tell them it's required that they make at least 1 practice a week. And for varsity teams, once the varsity teams are selected, which we don't typically set our varsity team until around December. Once the varsity team is selected, those team members are required to come to a varsity only practice on Mondays. So all the varsity kids have to come to practice, just them on Mondays, and then everybody has to come to 1 additional practice, but most of them come to both. So another major component of the Lodi mock trial program are scrimmages. Early and often is the key, I think, to getting kids to scrimmage right away. And if anybody wants to scrimmage in December, I would love it. Call me, because it's hard to find schools that can get kids to scrimmage. Oftentimes the kids feel really like, oh, we don't know the case. But I have found that if you just shove them into it and say, no, you got to be ready. We have, New Glarus is coming to our school on Thursday night. Be ready, 4:30. It's scary that first time through, but they get ready, and it's rough, but it's better to have a rough scrimmage in December than a rough scrimmage in, first week of February. So we also have a scrimmage that we run in January, which you are all invited to participate in. We have limited space, but I'll send a message out on the listserv about that. It's in Portage. It's usually on the Monday of Martin Luther King Day because the courthouse is available that day. But we've also gone to Appleton, to Xavier High School for an amazing scrimmage there. Green Bay has for many years run an incredible scrimmage at Brown County Courthouse. And one of the most important things, I guess I would say, that these scrimmages do, aside from just giving kids practice in the courtroom, is it really bonds a team. So if you can take a group of kids to a day-long scrimmage together, and in our case we were able, because our board allowed us to, and our students pitched in like $35 a piece, we were actually able to stay overnight when we went to those scrimmages, and it's really bonding. The kids get to become friends, and that builds a better team. So I know River Falls has a scrimmage that they have run very successfully, as have some schools in the Milwaukee area. So the last thing I'll say is just, I think, advocating for your program and for the good of mock trial in general as a teacher coach is really important. I think that teacher coaches have so much valuable information that people need to hear, that our perspective on how the program should be run, what's best for kids, is just invaluable. So advocating for your school, for your program, coming to the advisory board meetings, which up till this year, I think we're open to, I think we're open to most people to come to, if that's my understanding. I might be wrong, but really kind of getting involved. And once you get involved, you'll really find that the program has a lot to offer, and there's a lot of positive that you can get from it for your own team. So, and also just advocating for it in your community and letting people know when you have these kids doing these amazing, hard things, your community needs to know how hard they're working and how talented they are. So that's kind of my little spiel.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. I'm Kevin Lonergan, and this is my 11th year as attorney coach up at Xavier High School. I was going to get up here and brag about some of our accomplishments, and then I saw that Kathy Vick Martini was sitting in the audience, and she's the coach of Rhinelander and has been since its inception. And as those of you who've been involved in mock trial know, she's probably the best and most determined coach, not only in Wisconsin, but probably the nation. But we've had the good fortune of making it to state and placing in the top 5 at state for the last 6 years. We've been in the finals twice, and we won the state competition a couple of years ago. I want to thank all of you who are here and those of you who are watching for working with the kids. And one thing I want to just say before I get started on my comments is it's a lot of work on our part, but when it's all said and done, I have to say that I sometimes get as much out of this than I think I put into it. And the comments that I've had from kids and parents and things, the feedback I've gotten has made all the work worthwhile. Xavier's had several kids who have gone on to law school. I coached 3 of my kids. One of them just graduated from law school. The other one will be graduating this year. There's no doubt in my mind that their involvement in mock trial is what got them interested to the point that they wanted to do that. We've had a number of kids become lawyers, or they're telling us they're about to go to law school and so forth. We've also had a lot of feedback from parents, and I know every school is different. We try to make it fun for the kids, and one of the things that we do every year, after the year is done, we have a party, a mock trial party. And our tradition is that the seniors all get up and talk about what mock trial meant to them. And the comments that we've heard are just unbelievable. A kid who had surgery and was feeling isolated and said, I felt part of something, I felt good, you guys became my family. Mock trial is called the mock trial nerds or their cliques or whatever, but they bond together as a group like you can't believe. We've had athletes who've said, my experience on varsity athletics is difficult, but nothing is like the pressure that I had being cross-examined as a witness or having to give a closing argument. This is tougher. And so you'll hear kids making comments like that. One of our kids said, it's because of mock trial that I was able to give my valedictorian speech. It was pretty moving. He said, I couldn't get up in front of a class and talk when I was a freshman. And he was one of our attorneys on a team that won the state championship. That's pretty fulfilling. I had parents come up to me and say, Kevin, we want to thank you for everything you did for our son. We were losing our son. He was spending his time in the room. He wouldn't communicate with us. He wasn't working hard. His grades were going down. He was a witness before he became an attorney, and his attitude about life changed. He was excited about it. He'd come down and talk to us. He talked all the time about mock trial and what we're doing and so forth, and we got our son back thanks to mock trial. I can go on with examples about kids that can talk about what it's meant to them, but it's meant a lot to me to be able to have people make those comments back to me, and that's probably why I've kept doing this even after my kids were out of the program. One of the things that each of you, I think, needs to do is make a decision about what level of commitment your school is going to have to mock trial. There's a huge difference between a team whose goal is to make it to state or whether your goal is to score in the top 5 at state. We have schools that, unless you're in Rhinelanders regionals, we have schools that can make it to state with a month worth of preparation before the regionals, and maybe they'll make it there. And That's fantastic, and the experience at the state competition is so fun for those kids. They come down to Madison, we stay in a hotel, they do all the programs, the dinner, and everything. It's a lot of fun. It's a really neat experience to be able to do that. If your kids want to get to the level where they want to be one of the top ones, you really need to get a commitment from them that they're willing to put in the time to do that. Every school has a different level of commitment, but we start our program around Thanksgiving time. It builds as the year goes on. I'm a very strong believer, just like Janel, in scrimmages. If you don't scrimmage, there's no way you can see whether your kids are performing the way they should perform. I equate being involved in scrimmages is to like having a regular season in football. You can imagine trying to take your football team and go straight to the playoffs. We don't have a regular season in mock trial. So scrimmages can be your regular season so that you have the opportunity to learn and develop and so forth. So at least 2 or 3 different scrimmages, if you can get involved in them, I would strongly recommend that you do that. Now, I know there's a concern out there that if we do this scrimmage, then the other teams are going to find out what our case theme is or our materials. To be really honest with you, by the time we get to state, the materials in our case is entirely different than what it was during the scrimmage. You can write down all of our questions at the time of the scrimmage, and I can pretty well guarantee you that very few of them will still be around by the time we get to state. And that's because any good team that goes to a scrimmage is going to test their materials and learn from it and make changes. You have to start with a theme for your case. You have to start with an idea about how you're going to approach the case. You're going to go to the scrimmages and you're going to test that theme. And if it's just not flying, you're going to learn that, and you're going to make some changes, and you're going to alter that theme, and you're going to have to redo things. So by the time we get to regionals and then state, it's all different anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that. Just go, let the kids learn. That's my recommendation. I know there's a lot of paranoia about that, but just let them do what they have to do to learn. Every school is different too. We have tryouts, and we have 2 teams, and we try to keep as many people involved as possible. Depending upon the numbers, that helps us determine how the teams are going to be allocated and what roles we're going to have for the students. We've done it different ways over the years. I happen to think that it's easier for me to teach a smaller group of students the rules of evidence. So oftentimes we'll have the same person act as attorney on both sides of the case. So they're on the plaintiff or prosecution side, then they're flipping on the defense side. But we've also done it where we've had a student who is an attorney on one side play the witness of that person that they're cross-examining on the other side. And that works too, because they have an understanding of what people are trying to do with them on cross-examination. Some schools, because of the numbers, they actually take 6 different kids and try